are servers who generate annuity streams for my organization, not one-hit wonder salespeople. And so if you can't handle serving, get out. Simple as that.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Leads to Growth. I'm your host, Chris McCoy with the National Association of Sales Professionals. And today we've got somebody whose message is just really on par for where we are at. In sales, but in the world of sales, but also in this, post-COVID reinvention of sales, virtual sales, social networking, all these different things. The where we're at right now, this message is so great. And Roy has brings a message from experience. Roy was a CMO and an entrepreneur for over 40 years, taking a startup company and their sales from peanuts to $1 billion. And now he shares his messaging with the world. He's wrote some great books all about I'll let Roy tell you. Roy, tell him what you do, sir.
Well, I guess I'm a guy that took a company from an early stage to $1 billion in annual sales by essentially doing things differently. Turning my back on traditional stuff that in a new world wasn't working for me. I'm a practitioner, so I want to deal with things that appeal to people's hearts, that would capture their imaginations, that would get them, seriously following a new beacon. Right, a beacon of difference in terms of what's required to win and drive superlative performance in a marketplace that, as you know, is so chaotic right now, so unpredictable. And the thing that drives me crazy, Chris, is I'm seeing organizations still relying on the same old, okay, assuming that it's going to get them different results. Well, according to my mentors, that's a definition of insanity.
Absolutely. And I love your your call to action, your theme, your series of books, Be Different or Be Dead. And I love those bold statements, but that is an example of what you're talking about. And I think that the most recent book is called Audacity. Is that correct?
It's called the Audacious Unheard of Ways I Took a Startup to $1 billion in Sales.
Audacious Unheard of Ways, but audacious. I love those. You've got to be bold. You've got to stand out, and you can't be bold about yourself either. And you've got to really understand your market and your clients. So, tell us about the most recent book, and tell us about Be Different or Be Dead, and how you're supporting people to do that, and why that's so important in today's day and age. Because, as you said, real quick, Roy, sales back when we were kids, we'll say, it was a different game. You had to sell people something that they didn't know that they wanted or needed because they just didn't have the information out there usually. Now everybody knows what they want and need. Now you got to service those, and everybody can answer questions. So how do you stand out? How do you help people do that, Roy?
Well, first of all, let's acknowledge the fact that you would think in a world that is so complex, so hyper competitive, so replete with fickle customers, you would think that organizations would do a better job of differentiating themselves from others. And yet, my observation is that's exactly not true. In fact, I've characterized that we live in a world of undifferentiation right now, not a world of differentiation. And so it shows up in many ways, okay? People are too comfortable using what I call claptrap. Claptrap statements talk about we're better, we're best, we're number one, we're the market leader. Things that make the organization feel good, and it's their view of themselves. I call it the ultimate narcissistic view of a competitive organization, is what you think about yourself, not what you're going to do differently to satisfy your customers. And that seems to occupy everybody's thinking. So I had to create a different approach. And I've come up with this concept called the only statement, which is, in my view, the ultimate expression of and declaration of uniqueness. It says we are the only ones. We're not better, we're not best. We're the only ones that do what we do, okay? And if you can do that, it answers the question that customers always ask, is like, why should I do business with you and not your competition? I mean, saying things like, we are America's most popular meal kit, means diddly squat to a customer. Okay, it absolutely feeds narcissism in an organization. But unfortunately, and you know what? I've tried to find a universal sales proposition for all you sales guys out there that I like, and I have not found one, because they all talk about themselves. They all are narcissistic. And so what I'm trying to convince people to do is figure out a way how you can be the only one in a way that your customers care about. Now, I'm not talking about, Chris, I'm not talking about being different for the sake of being different. I'm talking about being unique and different in compelling ways that your customers care about. That's the source of the only statement. And you know, the work I've done with clients on this is pretty amazing, because once they land on something, you should see it. It's an empowering thing, because they
Yeah.
testify to better and best, and they welcome only.
I love that only statement comment, Roy, because I think what it does also is it's, you talk to people about individuality, right? Your unique selling proposition, like what makes you different, right? And there's two pieces. There's the product and the company and that service thing, but there's also you as the human, you as the brand, you as the person. And I think that you don't have to say who the person is. That comes out in the way that you think about your customers, in the way that you present to them your unique thing, because those who are interested in that unique thing that makes you different are the ones that you really want as clients. And when you are acting like yourself, those are the people that you really want to work with, those who are attracted to that same self, right?
Yeah, well, you know, you're hitting on, you know, one of the major uses of the only statement, as far as I'm concerned, because I've used it, is in your own career, which gets at you as an individual. I mean, you compete with other people for jobs, okay? So people will be attracted to those that stand out and are compelling and unique in a certain way. And so my only statement says this, Chris: Roy Osing is the only author, entrepreneur, and executive leader who delivers practical and proven, audacious, unheard of ways, because nobody else talks about it that way, to build high-performing businesses and successful careers. There is nobody out there that does what I do. I'm not saying that, you know what, you should listen to Roy because he's got 4 decades of experience. Who cares? Okay, what people want to know is how I am going to address their needs in a way that no one else can. And it's all through the audacious, unheard of ways lens, which is practical, proven, lights fires in people. I could go on for hours talking about why, but people, it resonates with people.
I love it, Roy.
As opposed to saying, you know what, it melts in your mouth and not in your hands. Help.
Roy, this is one of those lessons that, and this one just slapped me in the face, but he didn't prep this one before he gave it to me, y'all. But this is one of those things where you hear it and you're like, of course.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's so obvious, and yet it's so not done. People are so stuck on the status quo. What scripts are they using? Hope this finds you well. All these different like catchphrases that just get shoved into these marketing email templates, and it's just bananas. And the only, I mean, it's honestly making me rethink the way that I even run this podcast now.
Well, it applies to everything. And seriously, from a podcasting perspective, it's exceedingly important that we figure out a way for you to stand out in a way that's compelling and relevant. I keep repeating that, but it's really important to understand.
Compelling and relevant.
It starts with what your client base that you're targeting cares about, not what they need. Okay, you mentioned it earlier. Basically, our needs are satisfied. In the world of competitive pricing right now, it is one where you want to find a niche where you can charge premium prices. That's all about what I call cravings, not needs. It's about secrets and desires, not needs. And if you can find yourself a niche where you're the only one there, and by the way, it's easier because nobody else pays attention to cravings, Chris, right? Nobody does. Everybody's hell bent on needs, which turns out to be a commodity play anyways. But if you can figure that out, you've got a leg up for a long time, because the inertia in people's thinking, okay, the humdrum that's created by academia around basic things, right, that have been promulgated for 100 years by people who've never run a business, that's going to have a long lifetime, unfortunately. And it scares me. It concerns me because we're not changing fast enough. We're still relying on marketing 101 and sales 101. Let's check the funnel. I don't care about the funnel. I want to see your only statement,
Yeah,
right? And
get
I want
mad,
to see your
Roy.
list of cravings. That's
That's
what I
right. Get
want to see.
mad, Roy. Get mad. I like when Roy gets mad. No, it's so true. It is, and I think we went through one of those churns already through COVID and quarantine and all this stuff. Like a lot of companies just who weren't different, who were doing the same, we're falling out. And I think we're going to go through that now in this recession as companies tighten up. Some companies are going to go out there and they're going to grow in this market share, as big companies always do in down times. And the ones who are going to do it are going to be the ones that use this only statement, the ones that fit that niche craving to a high influential group who will then bring the masses with them later on.
Well, I mean, that's right. I mean, one of my fundamental issues with sales today is sales continues to flog. Okay, sales is a flogging profession. Okay, I keep saying, stop pushing, start pulling.
Well, right. Before you move on from this, I think it's such a great point, because sales is one of the only professions where there's no regular. I mean, just now there are a few universities giving sales. I got a sales certificate from Madonna University, and it was only like a little couple of credits or classes. Like now you can get a full degree, but it's still very rare in the country. And I think that's one of the things. Okay, if we're not educating them to be their own salesperson, what are we doing? Oh, we're treating them like the masses, and that's how we're training them, and that's how
Well,
we're managing them.
I mean, sales is being driven by the product centric world. And in that world, it's a push world. It's a
They're
supply
numbers people.
it's a supply oriented world. And I keep saying, no, it's not. Okay. If you want to be different, you need to treat it as a demand oriented world where you want to create such a great experience for people that they automatically want to buy from you. So you're not pushing at them. Okay. They're wanting to buy. Now, what does that require? It requires something that people aren't taught. It's about relationships. It's about experiences. Quite frankly, it's about treating sales as a service business. Okay. Sales should be serving people, not flogging shit at them. Okay. And yet I would bet 99% of the world is comped on how many product units they sell. How can you expect salespeople to be relationship builders when they're getting paid to flog stuff? And so I don't blame sales. It's a leadership issue. Okay. It's a leadership issue. And you leaders out there, I mean, I did this. It's easy to do. You need to refactor your comp plan. Okay. And here's how to do it. Step one, make 60% of it based on units, 40% based on customer perception of relationship building exhibited behaviors. And that's a 6-point survey, for God's sakes, and get the customers to fill it out. Next year, do 50-50. The year after that, do 60 relationship, 40 product sales. So I'm not asking to turn the world upside down all of a sudden, but you're going to do it in 36 months or you're going to be dead. Okay, you
And
will be
right,
dead.
and that's the challenge right now is to get these giant machines to slow down, right? Because they're mostly chasing revenue every month, every quarter, every anything, and to rework that process for people, I think is the big challenge. And so, but I'm a complete agreement with you, and I also think that there's a challenge with the way that the accounts are handled. Most companies are software as a service, and so many of them are now, and most of your residual or your reapplication or rebuying in the following year after the first year contract, most of that decision is made based on the onboarding and the first initial relationship, and that beginning demands how or decides how much they engage and use the product, and then decides how much if they're going to continue using the product down the road. And if the person that they decided to buy from was a part of that process all along the way and was able to develop that relationship like you're talking about, I think and also given a piece of that longer term lifetime value of the client, there would be more incentive for that relationship building as well.
So for me, you need to kind of have a combination, and we introduced this. We had an annual plan, and we had what we call the midterm plan. Okay, the big money for sales was for those individuals who could balance right, a 3-year view with a 1-year view. In
Mm,
other words, if you went hog wild on a 12-month view, you failed, okay, after 3 years. In fact, you were probably fired because you gave no attention to a longer term view. So it
yeah.
forced people to say, okay, okay, I'm about to make a decision here. What's the best decision I can make? Okay, given short-term requirements and medium-term requirements, longer-term requirements of what the customer wants. Now, it was fairly effective. It was a huge change from just being annually driven. But the secret, okay, it doesn't lie in the salesperson. The secret lies in leadership. Leadership needs to step out and redesign and redefine what sales is. And my view is it's got to be redefined in a serving context. Okay, you need to have a context. Like, I get tired of looking at sales tactics without any context. Okay, like, I can give you any tactic that is really cool and may not result in any performance change at all, but it does subscribe to the textbook and what funnel management is all
It's like
about.
a magic trick. It'll only work for so long, and once you're off, you don't know how to get it
Or
back again.
never, or
Yeah,
never work.
or never.
Okay. And so this is where the sort of gap exists between what sales are being taught, okay, and leadership with a lot of experience in terms of what actually works. And I call them find a mentor with an MBA. Now, that's not a normal MBA. It's a master in business achievement. Okay, because
Mm.
achievement is really what you want to follow here.
Street
I'm
smarts,
tired of
kids. Street smarts.
well, I'm tired of looking at people with 17 initials behind their name claiming that by definition they're an expert and they've been there, done it. That's hogwash. In fact, that's intellectually dishonest. That's not true. So stop telling people that. Find people who have actually been in the trenches, have suffered pain and agony with frontline salespeople, have asked them how can I help you, have gone to the wall to help them along. Then that mentor is worth listening to. End of rant.
I love it. Hey, we got a sick one today, so you're only getting about 75% of Roy's energy and anger. So, and I joke with it. It's not anger, it's passion, and I love that you're passionate about helping people, and I love that you're passionate about people getting out of that wheel, that being a cog in a wheel of non-reinventedness. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of our sales leaders, they're not trainers, they're not they're successful salespeople, just and they were put in that position. Maybe they're not managers, maybe they're not trainers, maybe they're not given the supporting tool, maybe they're not good onboarding, but just expecting a high value salesperson to jump in and be able to lead people, it's not always the case. And I think that's sometimes the challenge as well. But how about for salespeople out there? All right, so Roy, a lot of people are out there. All right, I'm in this stupid wheel. They got me using these dumb scripts. They're paying me only on these weird KPIs that don't really mean anything in the long run. How do I find a way to thrive within this environment? Because I mean, it's not a great job market out there. I'm not giving up what I got right now. Or if I'm going to take something new, maybe it's not the ideal place, but how do I find a way to differentiate myself in that type of environment as a salesperson?
So it's an excellent question. It's a matter of what I would call baby steps. Okay, because you can't think about this as a silver bullet solution world. Okay, you can't do that. So here's just
It's about becoming different, not getting something different right away.
well, it's like we're taught to achieve overnight. Well, the reality
Yes.
is what I'm suggesting here isn't achievable overnight. I mean, hell, it took me 4 decades and I'm still working on it. So maybe I'll get it right, maybe I won't. But the reality is, is think about the process, enjoy the journey. So here's
Mhm.
a few things that you can do. Okay. First of all, you can really try and think what it would mean if you just pulled back on the flogging lever. Okay, you can do this without anybody telling you it's okay. You can start to build relationships and pull back on flogging. Okay, because you are a flogger. Okay, you hear me? You are a flogger. It's not your fault, but you are. So one of the things that you can do is just try to pull that back on that one and figure out what are the behaviors that would make you lean towards being a server and a relationship builder. Point number 2, take some time and figure out what your personal only statement is. I am the only one. I am the only person on this sales team who. I am the only sales specialist who. I am. Okay. Now, what that presupposes is that you really do understand what your customers care about. So make sure you do that piece of work, right? Because you want to be compelling and relevant, and also do that. The third point I want to say to you is start a cravings manual on your clients. Okay. In other words, yeah, needs, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? They don't buy from you because of their needs. They buy from you because of the way you make them feel when you go through the sales process. It's all about feelings, okay? So what I want you to do is start a cravings manual on every client. Now, I know it doesn't have to be complicated. Start it on paper. Oh my God, start it on paper. And so for client A, what that means is, okay, because it's kind of related, Chris, to relationship building. When you go and talk to a client, the ear you have is to listen for desires and cravings. Now, you don't come out and ask them, okay, Chris, what do you desire? I mean, Lucifer did that, right? He did that and it worked out okay sometimes, but it's like asking the right questions to draw out more deep sort of information.
You're not just listening to sell, you're actually listening to hear.
Well, that's exactly right. And again, it's not about selling, it's about serving. Okay, serving. So start to think about your job as a server. Now, some of you may find that repugnant. And in fact, in my career as a sales leader, I had people saying to me, Roy, I'm never going to serve. I'm a salesperson. Send me out. I'm a salespeople. I'm a smoking salespeople. And I said, okay, here's the deal. If you don't like the journey we're on, leave, because you're not part of the team. What we need here are servers who generate annuity streams for my organization, not one-hit wonder salespeople. And so if you can't handle serving, get out. Simple as that. So for you sales guys out there, generic guys, if you sales guys, you need to spend time just introspectively considering what it would mean to you to be a server, and you need to be comfortable with that. I mean, hell, it's the greatest job in the world to be a server. It's just that it's got this connotation for some reason that it's not macho. We get boom, boom, boom. Well, get serious. What do you really want? At the end of the day, you want a lot of money for your organization, don't you?
100%.
This is how to do it. So there are three things. Think about what it takes to be not a flogger. Think about your only statement. Create a cravings manual. And the last one I'm going to give you is
Bonus.
get the hell out of benchmarking.
Mm.
Never go to Google again and benchmark how somebody else does it. This world is about creation, not copying. Do that.
I love that, because yeah, it is a little scary to put yourself out there and think, oh wait, am I doing this right? There is no right, there is no wrong.
Absolutely.
Be authentic and look at your data. Look at what works and what doesn't work. If you go out there and create a new way and a new outreach that feels authentic and genuine, and it doesn't get good feedback, okay, yeah, adjust it. But I guarantee you it's going to be a better start than what Roy just said, than that stupid Google template you just copy and pasted, for sure.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I get sick and tired of the copying thing that people describe as being innovative. I mean, that's a great example of being intellectually dishonest. You can't be innovative if you're copying somebody. Now, there are certain things, okay, like operational things that might make sense. But from a sales point of view, you're dealing with a strategic entity in an organization. And you salespeople, you need to think about yourself as an arm of strategy for your organization, not an operations thing. And so from
100%.
right? From that point of view, I mean, you cannot be copying. So go try a bunch of things. I mean, I think the number of tries that you make, okay, is an indication as to whether you actually care about being different. And the more times you fail, as long as you don't make the same mistake twice, because that indicates you haven't learned from
awareness is the key. I talked about this yesterday, and I just love this concept, Roy, that look, failure is only failure if you're not aware and learn from it. That's the reward.
Absolutely right. Good quote, sir. Nicely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You get to learn. That's the growth. That's the reward. And when you take that, what have you got now? The right way, or the path that you wanted or chose, or whatever. It is so freeing, but far too often we're like, oh no, see, that didn't work. I knew it wasn't going to work. And the challenge is what you're focused on. If you're focused on always getting to where you want to go, when the obstacle comes, it's just an obstacle. It's just a hurdle that you jump over. When you're focused on not on that fear, on being afraid to be unique and to do something brave out there, yeah, you're going to look at, and you're going to, when you fail, you're going to recognize and you go, yep, I knew this was it.
But you know what?
But
We've taught people to get A's today. Whole
mm,
education system is
put my
built
hand
around
up. Am I right or am I wrong? So I can be embarrassed or happy. Which one?
I'm never going to step out and I'm going to get that A, right? And I'm going to
Uh-huh.
move on to get my next A. And damn it, I'm going to do everything I can to avoid making a mistake because I'm going to get clobbered.
And how do we
And
get those A's?
that's
Just by memorizing and repeating what we were told. Finito. Oh yeah, yeah.
absolutely,
Oh,
it's conformance and compliance under academic degree
it
is what
is. And so it's
and,
instead of go ahead, go. Yeah.
and no, I just want to say one thing. Like I've been criticized of being really hard on academia. And I always say, yeah, I am. But I'm the first to say that everybody needs a good education. Okay. The problem I have, Chris, is that people assume that it's going to be the be all and end all. And my point is, it doesn't go far enough. Everything we've been talking about here needs to be added. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As
Yeah,
grist for the mill of your education that you got. Okay. It
I agree.
prepares you to solve problems and think a certain way, but it does not prepare you for success. It does not, because there are other things that you need to consider. So yeah, I'm tough on academics because I think they need to be led as well. I mean, because they've just read textbooks and they're
I mean,
promulgating stuff that was there 100 years
100%. And everybody knows if you want to know what's going on right now, you don't read a book. A book is about principles and systems that carry on through time. You don't even go to the magazines. You got to go to the internet and the blogs now, because that's the stuff that's happening right now, right? And so, and teachers are still teaching from old textbooks. It's bananas. But look, I love what we're saying. So we get a little sassy, a little complainy sometimes, right? But what we're talking about is, look, these are the reasons why you think the way that you think. These are the reasons the system's created you as a flogger. This is not your fault. And now do what feels right, because it doesn't feel good to be a flogger and to be pushy and to just look for these numbers. It doesn't feel aligned. When you are your unique and fun self and enjoying and having less conversations with more meaningful people, I guarantee you're going to find sales a more fulfilling career and profession. And also, one more thing too, don't forget to go take the seller style assessment out there, y'all. Our NASP seller style assessment will tell you if you are internally motivated, externally motivated, internally focused, if you're pushy, you're aggressive, if you're a service type. It'll tell you your current seller style and your ideal seller style based on a nice survey. So I highly recommend that'll give you some great awareness on where you're at and where you believe that service place finds itself best. Roy, where can everybody find you?
Well, first of all, it should be server style, not seller style. I mean, the
I love
language
it.
we use is extremely important. Okay. You can't talk about serving and yet continue to use the word sales, selling, and everything else in your vocabulary when you talk about the issue. Anyways, this is an aside.
Well, hold on,
I'm
no,
one
no,
of
no,
these
quick,
guys.
quick, hold
I'm
on.
one of these.
Go ahead, Roy.
I'm one of these guys that's totally aligned from principle to tactic, right? And you just can't get away with continuing to talk about sales. Okay, because sales,
I'm gonna
unfortunately,
push back a little bit, Roy.
sure.
And I love that. Because look, I think you're right, but it is the symbol in which we have taken the impact of sales. Sales is meant to be service. It's meant to be influential, helping somebody get to where they want to get by getting out of their and helping them get out of their own way. What it became and what it was acted like and what it's perceived at are far different than I believe the original
Oh,
intent is.
so I agree with what you just said. So, but I'm also a believer in creating discontinuities.
I
And the
agree.
way you create a discontinuity is
Change
by
language.
dramaticism. Okay.
And
And so
language is a great way to change those things. I
by
agree.
stop it, I'm not saying throw away everything you've done.
Mm-mm.
I'm saying what we're trying to do here, Chris, is create a new context for behavior of those people responsible for creating a transaction between the organization and the customer. See, I didn't say sales, and that facilitation, okay, comes in part through language. Anyways, you
All
can
right.
get a hold of me at bedifferentorbedead.com. I've got a blog every week. If you can go check out my blogs on sales, there's lots of them. And I'm tough on you guys. I'm tough on you, but hey, listen, I'm trying to give you solutions as well. There's also a page in there that talks about my 7 books. Take a look and see if any of those are interesting to you. And the third thing is I do have an email. It's roy.osing@gmail.com. I'm really happy, Chris, to have a conversation with anybody about any of this stuff. And if you don't buy what I'm saying, give me a oh yeah, and let's have a conversation, because that's the only way change happens. And I'm totally comfortable with that. I'm comfortable in my own skin. And I'm happy to have a really good, productive conversation with anybody on anything at any time. Bring it on. Create your only statement. Send it to me. Ask me for my opinion, and I'll be honest with you. If it's crap, I'll tell you it's crap,
There
but
you
I'll give
go.
you some suggestions, right, to make it better.
Rant and Roy, man, Rant and Roy. You go run this whole podcast before I get out of it. What one real quick thing before I go. You said changing the word from sale to serve. We've used that a lot in-house to upserve, when it's called upselling somebody. Oh, you've got them as a client. Now how do we upsell them to the next whatever it is?
I like that.
And that is a place where we have changed that language. And I do agree with you that language is so important. When something is a symbol, you have to go and replace it with a signal. A symbol is something that just automatically creates a reaction from you. A signal is something that you put in place to remind you to change and react. And so
Yeah,
I
and
love that you change that language, because that is a reminder, a daily reminder of who you are and what your role is to do. And that's a
I'm
very cool
proud
piece.
of you, Chris. I'm proud of you for making that change. I mean, the thing is, you always want to be creating reinforcements to a discontinuity. You just have to.
Absolutely. You
If you
have
don't
to.
do that, nothing
The
changes.
pattern's so deep in our mind and in our systems and everything around us that you have to create those pieces. Hey, Roy, this has been a really great, fun conversation. Y'all definitely go check out Roy. Be different or be dead. And look, challenge yourself. Find some more uniqueness. Find your unique selling proposition. Go take that seller style assessment. The more you question, the more you answer. And when you get to answer, you get to choose. And that is such a powerful place to live. And so go out there and choose. Have some fun today. Choose to put a bunch of stars down there. Like, comment, and share this podcast. And choose to subscribe, because we'll see you next week. Thanks, Roy.
You're welcome. Cheers.
Cheers.